it's an early morning. It's a weekend, and yeah, I'm happy to have you here, Klajd. And I would like you to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and what you're doing. And then I'm always interested in how you came to the situation where you are at the moment and the things that you're doing today. And yeah, every now and then I will ask some questions I'm interested in, and I think that could be interested for other people. And yeah, thank you firstly for saying yes, and yeah, happy to have you here.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Ilir. It's a pleasure to be here. I already listened to a couple of your podcasts. I think it's quite new, right, Emilia, what you're doing.
Mhm.
Um, and wish you all the best about it.
Thanks.
My name is Klajd Lika. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Bota Systems, a company that's at the moment at the forefront of robotic sensing. So that's
Um, this is great, and I really would like to know a little bit more about them. But as people who are following the podcast regularly, I'm always interested in the people behind the companies. So let's go back in time, no matter how far or new that is, and maybe you can tell us a little bit about the upbringing, the environment that you grew up, and maybe later on a little bit about your education. But yeah, please feel free to construct the journey as you like.
Thank you very much for giving me the time. I was born in Albania, in Tirana, in 1987, where I grew up until six, and my parents and I and my sister, I mean, my whole family, we immigrated to Greece when I was six, and this is where I grew up. My father is a mechanical engineer, my mom is a physics teacher. I mean, where we grew up in Greece. Um, we received, I mean, like I went to the top mechanical engineering school in Greece, in National Technical University of Athens, where I studied, did my master's degrees there. It's a bachelor master, you call it diploma. I mean, like in Germany, you have had, I think, or you still have the same system,
Yes,
five
you
years.
used to have it. Yeah, you used to have it. We split it up, the diploma now in 2 years bachelor's and 2 years master's, but we used to have the same system, yes.
Yeah, that's what we had there. And I was always fascinated about physics. I always liked physics and mathematics, and I had an inclination in drawing, in arts. So how do we combine this better by becoming an engineer? I think that's made me choose what I chose to study. And robotics seemed back in the days when we were at the mechanical engineering department as the field that you would be able to experience everything, to explore whatever is needed to explore. If you are very a child that you really want to understand how things work, I think robotics is quite a nice field, a multidisciplinary that you learn about mechanics, you learn about electronics, about how systems work, signals, how control theory plays a role, um, and many, many, many more. So I did my master thesis then in 2012, and the master thesis was about a sensor that we would like to use in quadrupedal locomotion. So we were building back then a four-legged robot. It was at this a very simplified one that was mainly to be jumping. So it was like based on the sleep model. If you know about it, it's like it was the inverted pendulum model of back then inspired by Boston Dynamics when
Hmm.
at first release, their first videos. They had a big dog and a couple of others ones, and we were like,
I
wow,
remember, yeah.
that's what we want to see. Well, that's what we want to do. And the best way to go in there, I mean, like, I thought that one of the coolest thing to build is to design an electromechanical system or to do some mechatronics development on it. I was also, it was control was also nice, but it was not, a very big
Passion.
strength. So mainly was about mechatronics. Anyhow, so this is how I came in the beginning with the idea and saw the market gap into what we do today in force-stock sensing. That was in
Yeah.
2012.
Quite a while ago. Time goes by fast, right? 2012, 12 years ago. If you don't mind, I would like to go back a few steps because now we have an overview where everything leads to, but I like to share the situations where future founders found themselves in sometimes. And as you said that your family moved from Albania to Greece, there's always some conflicts in the Balkan area. So very often there's some movement, especially during the different kind of times. So for you coming, and here please share as much as you like or not, but you coming now to Greece, how was it for you to grow up there? Was that a situation because you were still pretty young, that was easy for you to adapt? Was that a topic throughout the upbringing? Or was it something that was because you were still quite young, very easy to adapt? Yeah, maybe you can share a little bit
Yeah,
about this.
sure. Thank you for the question. In general, we all know, I mean, like, especially the people that are from Balkans, that there's some tensions there, I mean, between neighbors,
Mhm.
and always it's like this, I mean, between neighbors who have tensions.
Mhm.
And with Greece, I mean, like when you're very young and you immigrate to a new country, you don't really understand, but it leaves a mark if there is some surrounding something. So you feel it and you understand it afterwards if something has happened, and if something, in the environment was there that was influencing your behavior and what you were doing. So I felt not in the beginning, it was quite easy to adapt because I was 6 years old and I went there, I mean, like from first year of elementary school. I didn't speak the language, my parents neither. And I must say that I remember quite easy, quite fast to, in 2 months or so, able to speak the language. A child can really learn language very, very fast, can pick up. I was excited, to be honest. I remember when we arrived, it was a little bit difficult, to emigrate, to go from one country to another. Back in the days, especially after the problems that we had in Albania after, the regime, the communistic regime, and we can say that's dictatorship as well, that we had to move there. And um, I was quite fascinated. My father was already there, I mean, like 6 months or 1 year before. So
Mhm.
we made, conditions for the rest of the family to go there, and we just went. My uncles were also there, and I was happy. I remember a lot, so I didn't have a problem. In the school as well, we had many kids that they were also from the Balkans, primarily Albanians back in the days because the huge immigration wave that went
Mhm.
in that time. And I think it was quite smooth. Although children, sometimes tend to become a little bit like the biggest racist when you're at school, but that's what the children are. I mean, like I say things quite open. Oh, you look different than me, so I'm going to point out the difference, and slowly, you start feeling, but it wasn't as hard, I would say. It was definitely later on that things started becoming a little bit like, okay, I don't have access to this, I don't have access to that, compared to the other children. Not children, but then we were a bit like more adults. And when you don't have this access, it's like a place that, and it is not Greece, it's not, it's just that the people are afraid of change and afraid of seeing someone else. And I think for me it was no, I was very good at maths, sports, whatever, physics, and so on. So I didn't see a reason not to have access to things that other people had. I didn't understand why, but this was happening. The discrimination, unfortunately, happens subconsciously to some people, and some of them are a little bit more active on that. And to those that they are active on that, we just don't talk. We just push them away. They shouldn't be there, or they shouldn't think like that. But to those that they do it subconsciously, probably they just need to hear a little bit like more, become a little bit like more conscious of what's happening. Anyhow, just going back
No,
to
no,
this.
wait. I would like to comment something here. I think you said it beautifully. I think you were able to articulate and communicate the situation or analyze the situation quite on point, at least for my
Yeah,
impression. Thanks for this, because I think you mentioned and pointed out a few things, but without being judgmental. And I think this is very important to say some people do this on purpose and some people don't do this on purpose, and they just need sometimes to get held a mirror in front of it. And you also said something that I like. You said you need to push them away and don't talk to them. So you need to make your way through. And this is the reason why I have this podcast. And I hope that people are listening who are in the same kind of situation or similar situation. And because I was about to ask you, how do you deal with this kind of situation without letting the anger get a hold of you, and without becoming an enemy within, but really adapting and understanding the situation. And yeah, but you said something
yeah,
already. Maybe you
yeah.
would like to emphasize on that. And another question that I have was, do you think this was able, or you were able to do this because you had the advantage of being very good at math and sports? Because that can be very including. There's a lot of people who are not very good at math, so sometimes it's nice to have this advantage on an intellectual level. And sport is always something that people can connect with, right? So people can look up to if you're very good and excel at something. I mean, there's always jealousy as well, but
Yeah.
do you think your environment, your family environment, prepared you for this? Maybe you can say something about this.
Yeah, sure, sure. My family was, it's for sure something that played a very big role on that. Actually, the biggest role. I mean, like, I think where you grow up at your family place, it's like what you become half of, or I mean, like, just I don't want to put numbers here, but I think it's half of it coming from your family, who you are, or more. I mean, like, who you become. So definitely they played a role, uh, not to put more hate in it, because sometimes when people discriminate and you start seeing this, you can become angry, as you mentioned. And becoming angry, you are also becoming what they are. So if you want to avoid becoming who they are because you don't like them, I mean, like, better do something else. And if you don't have a family that um, can understand what's going on and why these children or these people are doing what they're doing, and support you emotionally when you are having your hard times. Hey, mom, why this happened to me and this didn't happen to that guy? Um, um, if they start saying, because you blah blah blah, you're Albanian or you are whatever you are, wherever we are from, um, and they just say it's normal, it's okay, you just do and focus on your strengths and don't let these guys uh, take you down. These people, just leave them away. Focus on your strengths and push as much as forward to go forward. I think that's very important, and otherwise you cannot make it. It's like usually people fall in depression after a while, or they don't do. They are discouraged. They can become discouraged. They can never get out of this thin line, a thick line, I would say, of 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 ghettoifying a little bit,
Mm.
yourself
Mm.
uh, and becoming part of the society of somewhere, a subculture within the culture. So it's important the family fosters love besides anything else. And for the people that don't understand, and for the people that they are a bit like different than you and they don't accept you, they're afraid of who you might become, that you may be a little bit like better than them because they see your potential and try to bring you down subconsciously as well. I'm not saying that this is something that's happening on a level that they have something against you. They just do that because you're good at some things and at some other things. Um, yeah, you just have to to pull yourself through it. I think very important that you have a family that supports that. And for us, I mean, like in our family, what my mom was always saying, ah, you have just to study. I want to play football. But she told me, yeah, okay, football is good, but is it going to last forever? Maybe you just focus on your strengths. At maths, all your teacher says that you are one of the smartest but laziest, person to do his homework. So why do you don't just focus there? So, I mean, it's important for them to focus on your strengths and put them all together to form a character that is like in body and mind. I mean, like strong.
Yeah, like I said, I'm very thankful that you took the time to go a little bit deeper into this because I think uh, there's a lot of people that have this kind of situations, either this way or another, or similar situations, and how to get out of this and what to focus on. The last point you said was something that is also very interesting, and this brings us closer to the entrepreneurial part, and that was stop being lazy and focusing and do the things that are necessary to be done to achieve the things you'd like to achieve.
Mhm.
You said that you were doing your master's. Let us walk us,
Yes.
please bring us further to the end of your studies and how you actually became an entrepreneur. Because I think this is always something where you need courage, where you need support, where you need guts to have guts, and an idea would be not too bad. Yeah, maybe you can dive a little bit into that chapter of your life.
Sure. I mean, like just a small. I'll make sure to explain what happened and to go through that. Yeah. I mean, like, but as an overview, is like when you have nothing to lose. Um, there's nothing to lose. You just go full speed. So that's where most of the motive of an entrepreneur comes. So if you have nothing to lose, there is no risk. So just go. If you have powers, if you have strengths, if you have the opportunity, just go for it and just show your strength. Not to show, but to just to harness what you are craving for, just to take what you're craving for. That's what it is.
Mhm.
So going back a little bit, I mean, like my father always wanted to do when he was in Greece, he was feeling more, the racism than I did. They were protecting us also a little bit about that, but he was feeling it. And I remember, hearing about him when he was coming back from work, telling to my mom, Mom, I mean, this happened because, if I wouldn't be Albanian, things would have been easier for us and blah, blah. But this is, the curse of an immigrant, and that's what happens. Anyhow, but listening to this subconsciously to a child and to a person that is growing up, things are being built, and you always see that, okay, he's struggling to do something more, but unfortunately, he has a family that he has to support and make sure that he provides and he brings, enough money in the house to be able to feed and to support the growth, the education, and everything of the children and the family. So he never got the chance, I think, to really do something and to escape from what he was doing. He was a very good engineer in Greece. I mean, like he used to be, he was doing molds for hydraulic presses. So
Mhm.
yeah, so he did more than 200 molds, hydraulic presses that they process foil, metal foil, whatever this is, to create. How do you call this thing in English? It's like when you have a mold, stamping,
Mhm.
right word. And yeah, and this thing made me want to do something more and not like just go, but go through to a corporate and learn and go through the ladders of the company and slowly, become something or do something more than what you used to do. I want to do something on my own. I want to make sure since the beginning, I remember that I had the passion to do something on my own. Whatever that was, I wanted to be free, to have the freedom. And that's, I think, the ultimate thing, freedom. I mean, that we needed to. That I wanted to do. And by having your own company, I think that's what you achieve. up to a certain point, because after a while, I mean, when you get a little bit like more towards, all the ecosystem, the industrial ecosystem, you understand that you're not exactly free, so you have to play the rules. So that's, I mean, like, you understand it later, though, this thing. In the beginning, you just think that oh, that's, but it's very close to doing something for free, right? So everyone has a boss in the end if you want
It's
to.
your boss is your customer, right? You do need to sell your
And
product. You do need to make your applications work. So you do need to do
exactly.
advertisement and sales. So you're not as free as you think. And I think the main joke in entrepreneurialism is I don't want to do 40 hours a week. Oh no, let's change for 70 hours a week, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Good. I mean, it's like I love it that you are always so reflective. So you see one part, but you're also very aware of the other part. And I think the whole picture is what it makes it so nice. So thanks for pointing this out. But and also pointing out what your initial incentives were, right? And I think this trauma of achieving more because you have seen how the person who is not able to achieve more can be an accelerator, can be a catalysm of
Yep.
achieving things, right? And especially for not only, but especially also for immigrants, where you see there's a limitation, and especially obviously for someone who has a family, right? So you were able to do things because I don't know you yet, good enough, but when
Mhm.
you are out of university and don't have a family, you are free to a certain degree, which is much more than if you have a family where you have responsibility and where you, as you said, where you need to provide. But yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you.
No worries. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly what you're pointing out. I mean, like, there is freedom, but there is restrictions as well. I mean, like, you have to play the rules sometimes. Although we try to break them all the time, I mean, like, and make sure that we innovate and go out of, and create a new ecosystem all the time. That's what happens. It's good. It's not bad. It's like how things work. Just observing what we are. So, okay, we can be a little revolutionary sometimes, but
Not too
and
much. You do need
too
to you
much
do
means
need
that you don't
to
have a
create.
reason. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. You have to master what you're doing and then start innovating. That's my personal, path. That's how I function. I mean, like, uh, trying first to master something and then, okay, do we want to change something? Do we want to change something because there is a problem? There is, during this mastery, during this journey of learning things, you realize that there are things there that don't work. And this is how I came in. If it's, I think it's a good and smooth swift towards what I did in my master's. And this is where, in the master thesis, we had some sensors that we wanted to integrate and to make sure that the robot is force controlled. But these sensors were extremely expensive, bulky, they were breaking and so on. And we had to learn how to use them, but we couldn't at some point. We mastered how to use them, and then we had to make something new. And that is where, the new thing started happening. And this is where the journey starts for me as an entrepreneur. When I decided to do, when, I mean, like, my professor actually said that, oh, I have this master thesis that it's good to be done because otherwise I will pay, I don't know, 40K, and in one experiment I'm just gonna throw it to the ocean. It's like you having a car and you throw it to the ocean. That was the primary incentive for the technology to be developed. And for me, it was like, oh, pretty clear. Market gap. I'm going to focus there. I mean, like, back then, I didn't know the term market gap. I'm an engineer, I know that, okay, cool. Uh,
Problem.
4 newtons, 5 newtons, whatever. Let's make it happen. It's a robot. It's cool. It's nice. It's like, we can do stuff. And then later on, you will be able to do what you want if you actually put all your strength in something. That's also something very generic that I follow as well. That if you put all your strength on something and you have you're ambitious, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do it with love and full effort, this thing will bring you fruits. They will pay off. So for me, as long as I knew that I'm gonna be following slowly, my own dreams and do my own company, as long as I did hard work, at some point I will be paid off Although at the beginning it was a bit hard, financially, but at some point it's going to be paying off. And I was even saying to my friends sometimes, like, man, you don't need to actually get so stressed about money. If you are good at what you're doing, you're going to have money enough to live. I mean, like, society provides. We're in very good state. We are in the
And and then was that something that you have been seeing or observing? Was that something that you read or somebody taught you? Because especially in the beginning, I was talking about having balls, having guts, being brave, becoming an entrepreneur. And you said to your colleagues and friends, like, this is the least I'm interested in. I'm interested in doing something better. And then along the way, money will come automatically. Is that something that you inherently were feeling, or like I said, were you observing this? Because this is a threshold that a lot
yeah.
of people feeling for not following this way. How was that for you?
I think for me it was like I can put it in other words, but for me it was a bit like it's again coming from the family, I think, this thing, because they never cared so much about, making money. And of course, they want to provide in the best conditions. But what they were most interested for us, and they were putting all the effort, was our education. For me and my sister to become, highly educated, to make sure that we are educated and we're happy within that, and get knowledge. Knowledge was the must. And during this process, things will follow. Because it's the ultimate goal. And I think that's where it comes from. I mean, for me as well. And it's inherited. I think it's this, how we call it, this intellectual inheritance that you get from your family, I think. And and as long as you see yourself with full optimism, um, I don't think there is a reason, I mean, like to think that we're not going to survive, that we're not going to have to eat food. I'm talking about mainly about EU, European Union now, and states that they have a social net, safety net that they can provide for you. The only thing that you have to do is just to make sure that you um, maximize your potential.
But I mean, you said two very important things. One is education knowledge. So that brings opportunity to you because you have a wider range of skill set, hopefully, with the right education and the right focus. You have a broader skill set, so this gives you just by definition more opportunities,
Of
and
course,
also the support and the love from your family, because that gives you the other part, also using those skills, using those opportunities that come along the way, trying to catch those opportunities. Because if you hear you can do it, so this is like I said many times here while I do this podcast, I would like to show people the like if this guy can do it, I can do it, right? And this is the because then you see behind the walls, you see behind the barriers, and then you understand the other person is not so much different from me. They had obviously different opportunities or different support or different knowledge, but there is no inherently differences between me and the other person. And if I get access to those, if I get those kind of skills up, I get those kind of education, and if I hopefully have someone who's supporting me a little bit, then I can achieve the same things, right? So I really love this approach here.
yeah, sure. You can think of it also a bit like mathematically, if you want, or in control systems. Like if you have initial conditions, they are different. As long as the system stabilizes in the end, I mean, like it's just a matter of time until you stabilize to somewhere. So you just have some initial conditions, and it goes. You go there. You fall on the right, I think, curve, on the right, I mean, optimal point.
So, coming out of academia and then becoming an entrepreneur, you said the master thesis was the, let's say, starting point for this journey, but also the fire within to do something on your own, to become
Mhm.
free. How was it because I speak to a lot of students, I speak to a lot of PhD students or someone who is early in their career. How was it that it came together to you? Was there some situation that really were fostering this kind of path for you? How did you make that
Sure.
step out of university and not into corporate? And I would like to say something about corporate later on, but not doing that step, but doing the step into the wild journey of becoming an entrepreneur.
So I can continue with the story, and along the way, I'm going to answer your question, I guess.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then I mean, like after I got the know-how from what how to make sensors. I mean, like in a year or something, it was good time. Not the whole thing. It's a big field. It's not easy to make sensors that they are robust, reliable, cost effective, and they really solve a problem in the industry. But I'm just saying that getting the know-how, which is the initial fire that you need, is good to have it there. And I was looking to do a PhD back in the days, and my professor asked me and I was looking abroad, from Greece, because I knew that in Greece, the robotics industry, it was not so advanced. There is no many things to do in corporate for what you learn. And you learn, I mean, like, let's say, I mean, whatever you study, and then you use 5% of this knowledge or nothing. Or sometimes you just end up doing Excel sheets and yeah, okay, thank you very much, sir. I mean, like reports, but I learned, I mean, like how to solve partial differential equations. I mean, like, what do I do now with it? No, so I wanted to continue a little bit, doing, fancy stuff. So I was looking for a PhD abroad, and I told to my professor and he told me that, we just got a EU project. Back then it was like FP7, I think, or something like that. And we have to build up uh, a big six-legged robot that can go subsea. And I was okay. What should I do? And I have this position for you to do the electromechanical design for it. And I was like, okay, what should I do now? I didn't want to leave Greece, but it was a little bit like during the financial crisis that we had back in the days, that even if you could go to a job, I mean, you could earn, I mean, like $800, 1,000 as a young intern or whatever, which was not, so appealing. So either I would go abroad to do what I want to do, or I would be doing my thing. Then this thing came. It was a very interesting job to design a big robot and make sure it works, and it was quite interesting. Besides, doing sensors, I was very keen into mechanical design and all the engineering around it and optimal mechanical design. And I said, okay, yeah, let's do that. But I would like to at the same time make sure that I do the job that needs to be done for this specific project, and maybe this leads to some papers and so on, and a good reputation. But I would like to continue doing what I want to do and um, to continue doing and maybe use from time to time a little bit the equipment, the CNC machines, and the lathe and the mill and all the workshop to build my what I wanted to do. But I was always, because it was a university, an open community there, I could be able to work there as much as I wanted. Sometimes I was leaving the place at, I don't know, 4 a.m. I was going 6 a.m. or whatever, doesn't matter. And then I mean, like, I'm sorry.
So you're losing me now a little bit. So you were finishing university and then you were thinking about going abroad. There was a PhD position that came along the way, but what exactly were you doing afterwards? So what was it? Because
Yeah,
you were
yeah, I
staying in the
didn't start a
environment.
PhD. I didn't,
You
yeah, I
didn't
stayed in the same environment. I didn't start a PhD. I started to work as a research assistant there
at the
uh,
university.
at the university, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a 2 years to 3 years project.
Mm-hmm.
And at
The
the same
EU
time,
the EU project you were mentioning.
this big
Okay.
legged robot, it's called Hexatera. Maybe you can find on YouTube
Mm-hmm.
videos there. It's a nice one. Um, I'm pretty sure you're going to be fascinated to see this big robot walking there. And yeah, I was doing in parallel in my free time, let's put it this way. After I would finish the work to be done for this robot, I would back in the days I was getting $800, something like that. That was my salary. 400, I was spending them in materials and stuff to make, my sensors. And a lot of time, right? And I continued this path. I didn't go to do a PhD. I just continued this path. So just spending a lot of time in the lab, underground. It was like back in the days in the basement, where I was with a couple of PhD people there that were doing, design and control of four-legged robots. They were working on that primarily in this field of legged robotics. But it was fun. I made some very good friends there. I mean, doing a PhD, people there also uh, all night there. I mean, like people in these environments are like just working all day, all night. So it was a very nice environment, to wield, the strengths. I really liked it. And I didn't see, yeah, it's $800, I can pay my gas, I can pay, whatever, a little bit like, for my expenses. And at the same time, I can do whatever I want to do as an engineer. I didn't follow any career path of on corporate or doing the PhD abroad. Stopped, researching about that. And later on, I mean, like after spending 2 to 3 years into doing this big project that we had, this was done. I had already some MVP, some minimum viable products for the sensor. Had a website. Later on, another friend that he just finished, 2 to 3 years later, his master thesis. He wanted to do something similar. Uh, Eris Sacco, and he today he found the company, a new company as well from ETH Zurich. It's called Duatic. They do a manipulator there. So back in the days, I told him, "Hey man, just come if you want to do your own thing as well," because he had the same background and ambitions. Just let's do it together. Let's jump out. Let's join forces and do that together. And we were just spending a
Nice.
lot of time in the lab, during the night. And then together we started to build this thing. He brought know-how for grippers, for robotic grippers.
Mm-hmm.
I had the know-how for sensing, and the field of collaborative robots back in the days was growing, and it looked like they needed sensing, either at the wrists or the base or on a joint level. And yeah, we joined forces. He was working at the time as well to another company. Um, I was spending most of the time in the lab, and we initially put the name together for Bota Systems, built the first website together, and tried to start gathering a couple of people around us that they were interested in what we're doing, and we were like doing cool things, trying to do our own stuff. It was not so much of these things in Greece back in the days. It was hard even to get to have an ecosystem. We didn't have an ecosystem of startups or it was like super, it was more towards software, not so much robotics in general. It was a bit hard, It was like you're doing and you're alone, but you would just see the international competition and the competitive landscape. So that's how we got there. And later on, I mean, like we applied for a business accelerator program that was in Zurich. Um, After 3 years that I was doing this, and this business accelerator program got accepted. It was, I remember, like 800 something applicants, and we were selected among multinational. It was the reason why this attracted me, although I was not, I didn't like, too much business accelerators and all this, world. I wanted to bootstrap the company actually. But this didn't happen. I mean, in the end, we had to take some funding, which is good. It accelerates the thing, but um, traditional engineer wants to do everything on his own. So that's why we tried to go this way. And then we got for 2.5 months in Zurich. We were staying at a hostel there that all the people, from they were paying our staying. Zurich was quite expensive, I think, at the time for our salaries for $800 that we were making. So it was a good program because they were funding you as well. They knew about the
Mm-hmm.
situation in Zurich that, yeah, I mean, dude, I mean, you cannot just come here and expect, the guys to pay, this insane, living costs, especially if they come, from a country that is like on another standard level. And then, I mean, like we spent, this was like in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Spent 2.5 months there in this accelerator program. We got a little bit more about to understand a little bit like how business functions, how raising money functions, and so on. And it was, I think, a good environment because it was ETH there, ETH Zurich. I reached out to Marco Hutter, the Robotics System Lab, to tell him that, listen, we are here in Zurich. If you want to catch up, um, we have this technology, this and that, and we would be happy to see how we could collaborate. We want to do a startup and so on. We are on this phase. And he accepted, and it was super nice that we went there and in the lab in the first days. I mean, like, I remember the lab, it was 2016. I think he opened up the lab a year before. He was before a postdoc at Roland Sigbert at the Autonomous System Lab. And at the same time, they were just founding Anybotics. Um, and it was with a team of Anybotics. It was the founding team. It was Christian, Peter, and the other guys, and Marco.
So
And
you're close with them?
I'm sorry.
You're close with them?
And we are also physically close in our campus. We are in the same campus, Bota Systems and Robotics. So we are.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, yeah, we don't hang out, so much. We mainly work, but we are from the same lab. Actually, also with probably Swiss Mile. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
robotics. But we are also very close with them, and the rest of the startups of the ecosystem that came out of this. And it was a generation where all of us at some point somehow we became founders, CEOs, new companies from Robotic System Lab from all this ecosystem. I think Marco Hutter, he had quite a skill to recruit people that they are ambitious,
Mm-hmm.
and that's one of the best things. And to an ecosystem that helps and supports growth and innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. So,
He has a new
and
position this year, right? Was it this year?
sorry,
He has a new position this year, right? Was
uh,
it?
Marco Hutter, no,
Yeah.
he's a professor. Yeah, he opened up the AI Institute from Boston Dynamics. I think they opened up. Yeah, they
Yeah.
opened up
Yeah.
in Zurich a position
Yeah.
and a new center, and he is leading this. Uh,
Yes.
Again, in the same neighborhood that we are all together there. I mean, like it's like good to have, because it keeps you up to date. It makes sure that you have an environment that fosters innovation. It reminds me a little bit like now that I've been traveling also to San Francisco and seeing how people and things work there. The same thing, people just want to continue innovate. I think it's pretty similar. It needs a little bit more the American style of working, like there is no pause, a little bit like less breaks, and not only 9 to 5, but we need a little bit like if you want to do something more, you need to work a little bit more. I think that's the only thing that we have. Time. That's the most.
I think it's the right having the right combination of people in the right lifetime because you're born at the end of the 80s. That makes you like 35, 36 something.
Yeah.
And so people talking about work-life balance and especially from the entrepreneurial point of view, the 9 to 5 job sometimes gets a little bit of bashing, but I think it's the combination. It's always multifactorial, right? Because the majority of things that are surrounded by us are initiated by people who worked longer than 9 to 5, but establish and make it and making it really reliable and bringing it to a certain level. This is mostly also done and maintained by 9 to 5 people, right? So the big corporates with the products that you see around you. In a startup phase, you do need to push a little bit more, especially if you would like to get out of the competition. But 9 to 5 people are the ones who keep the engine running also, right? So it's
Of
always a
course.
combination of both. And if you are in your 20s, it's very easy to get yourself and dive into this kind of lifestyle. But at a certain point, you do need to make the decision. if you would like to continue on that path, or if you would like to get the other half of the coin, and that means having a family life, spending time with friends, and here spending until 4 o'clock in the lab will be hardly sustainable, right? So
It's not.
um, I, I'm always saying this not to be judgmental, but to be honest about the situation, right? And that this is also a path that is just as good as being part of the of the entrepreneurial side of it. And I think both sides are necessary, and
Of course, we have in the
both, yeah.
in the company today. I mean, we have people that they are a bit not 9 to 5, 8 to 5, I would say more,
Mhm.
um, but they have this, good disciplined way of uh, and systematic way of working, which is brings a little bit of stability, and then you have the noisy and more oscillating, people that they're like me, for example, that sometimes I may be a bit like, okay, now I have to work. This period requires me my full strength because it's an opportunity that needs to be cut, and I am like, I will not sleeping. The only thing that I keep in constant is like 8 hours of sleep. But during the period that it's like it feels like you're in a war zone. I mean, like in a sense, like you just have to continuously, push, and work. But it's essential. I mean, like to have also the people that they do keep this balance. Sorry.
As we're coming towards the end of the podcast, I'm always asking not only for advice, because you gave plenty of very good advice, at least from my perspective, because I feel very similar in certain things for upcoming entrepreneurs, but maybe you would like to finish with something that you're still aiming for, something that's coming to you, right? Because we were talking about the past and the things that you're doing today a little bit. But maybe you would like to take a few minutes about where you would like to go, what you would like to accomplish for you as a person, but also for Bota Systems.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like past is what makes what we are today to follow and go to the future. That's what it is. And the future is like nice. I mean, like especially for robotics, is very promising at the moment. I mean, especially with AI jumping in, we were not aware that we were not, I mean, I wasn't expecting to have such a huge impact on how we control things, how we control machines. And I think that the next few years hold very, very exciting times are coming. I mean, like if you see a little bit like how the automation is at the moment in the industry, you'll see small numbers. I mean, like I was reading some statistic. It's like 1.5% of the manufacturing labor is only automated today, and we're talking only about the manufacturing sector. And the future holds us a promise. I mean, like many startups and companies are promising us, and we expect to see them, and we want to support them at the same time um, about new type of robots that they work everywhere, not only inside environmental structured environment, but in unstructured environment, which means houses, which means whatever it means. They will be our personal assistants. And I think and I believe that this is going to happen. I mean, like, in the beginning, I was a bit hesitant to believe that, oh, yeah, we have humanoids now. And yeah, okay, some people made, some put together some pieces of metal and some actuators and sensors, and they say that they're going to become our house. But no, I mean, like putting some brain on it, and this brain coming from AI learning, I think it's becoming real. It's becoming real in the next 5 to 10 years. I expect, to be honest, to have minimum viable products, minimum in houses, or I mean, like especially, I mean, like I've seen, if I don't know if you follow 1X, for example, they and
Obviously.
also at Neura, I think you're also working towards that direction. I met with David during the Human Forum um,
Nice.
in Memphis this year.
Yeah, he was there very briefly. I think he was just flying in for the conference and flying
Just for
out,
the
I
conference,
think.
yeah, he had the talk,
Yeah.
and then Just we were discussing. I just asked him like, "Do you think a humanoid without legs is a humanoid, or is like something else?" He said, "They are not a humanoid." So it's not. Of course, it's not. If you want to say that this is humanoid, it just don't. I mean, like to me, it's a definition. It's a broad definition, but it's like something
Yeah,
has hands.
yeah,
Yes, okay. Thank you very much, sir. I mean, we had hands before, and if you put them together, it's not a humanoid. It's just uh, something without legs. Humanoid is by definition something that is
looks like
bipedal.
a human.
Yeah, it looks like human. Yeah, I mean, like morphology wise, it's like human, has the same functions. And I think that's the most interesting part that many companies have promised us, and we actually are promising the same, that we're going to support this dream and this thing come true. And I don't know, maybe in the next few years, they're going to be the ambitions are high, and we at Bota Systems as well, we continue following what's new. And that's why I'm today here at Core in Munich. Although I have a lot of things to be done on an operational point of view and sales and marketing and all things that I do in the company, and maybe some new sensor design. I'm here still to be able to learn what's new, to stay up to date and not get rusty, not just
Yeah.
follow and grow and make sure. That's what it is.
And standing on the edge of the new things. I'm very thankful that you took the time today. We are not too far from each other. It's like a 2.5 hour drive. I wanted to visit, but there's things that need to be done. As you said, you do need to work here at Nora, as we would like to achieve the things we were talking about before, bring robotics into homes, not only in manufacturing. I'm happy that you took the time for me today, and thank you also for all the anecdotes and insights in the person and behind Bota Systems. I'm looking forward to meet you in person, I need to say, because I think you
Be
are a
happy.
very interesting person. And let's see, maybe we can catch up. I think David is always interested in what's happening around him, and I wish you you're spending the weekend also in on the conference, right?
Today we have the workshop. We pack the stuff, drive back to Zurich. It's like 3.5 hours trip. But that's what we do. Entrepreneurs are a bit commandos nowadays. We just have to go from one place to another to make sure that we
Yeah.
follow things. But I would be very, very happy. I mean, like we're in Zurich. If we would meet, have a coffee, maybe talk. We're always invited to our offices. It's a nice environment there. Feel free
Thanks. Thanks.
whenever you're around or you want to do a trip, we can always. And I mean, I remember one day I was at Naira a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
like 5 years ago or something.
It's a totally different place now, I can tell
Yeah,
you.
I know, I know. But yeah, feel free, man. I mean, like, I would be happy to see you in person.
Enjoy the workshop today and have a good and safe trip back. Again, thanks for taking the time, and I would like to catch up with you in the future.
Let's do that.
Then take care and bye bye.
Take care. Bye bye.